What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, it has begun as WBA, World Boxing Association, welterweight world champion, superstar, Cuban boxer, Yordenis Ugas. 27 wins, 4 losses, no draws, 12 wins by way of knockout, 35 years of age, 5'9.5" with a 69-inch arm reach, has officially announced that he will be facing undefeated, unified WBC, IBF, welterweight world champion, superstar boxer, who is widely considered by many to be top 3 best pound-for-pound fighters in the world, in Errol "The True" Spence Jr. Errol Spence Jr., 27 wins, no losses, no draws, 21 wins by way of knockout. Errol Spence is 31 years of age, 5'9.5" with a 72-inch arm reach. So Errol Spence is and Yordenis Ugas are about the same height. Errol Spence, he will enjoy a 3-inch arm reach advantage over Yordenis Ugas. Errol Spence is 4 years younger than Yordenis Ugas. And Errol Spence is a southpaw. Yordenis Ugas is a Cuban star boxer who is an orthodox fighter. He comes from the Cuban school of boxing, so you know they're well versed in the sport of boxing. Okay, so with that said, it has begun. Yordenis Ugas, he immediately took to social media, and the build-up has begun. As Yordenis Ugas, he showed off his belts, which is the WBA title belt. So he had, prior to legendary 8-division world champion, iconic Filipino superstar boxer Manny Pacquiao being removed as the WBA super champion when Manny Pacquiao was, after Manny Pacquiao beat former unified welterweight world champion, superstar boxer Keith "One-Time" Thurman, July of 2019, for Keith Thurman's WBA title. Now, Keith Thurman, he held the WBA and he held the WBC title, but Keith Thurman, due to inactivity after beating 2-division world champion Puerto Rican superstar boxer Danny Swift Garcia, March of 2017, Keith Thurman was removed as the WBC champion due to inactivity, a 2-year layoff. And a similar situation to Manny Pacquiao, he was removed as the WBA champion because of the 2-year layoff, and his was due to a global pandemic, just not inactivity. So with that said, Yordenis Ugas, who was the regular champion, was elevated to the WBA super champion, and so he showed off both his belts. Obviously, he had the WBA regular title and the WBA super title, okay? So Yordenis Ugas, he made it abundantly clear that he's very excited about this fight with Errol Spence Jr., and you have to understand at times his words could be a little bit backwards because he's more well-versed in speaking Spanish than he is speaking English. So, he stated that he's very excited that, he's going to be the first Cuban-born fighter to fight for 3 major titles. He said the WBC, the WBA, and he said the BIF, which is he said the FBI, so instead of the IBF, but he showed off both his belts, WBA belts, and he stated that the big fight that everybody wants to see, the biggest fight in the sport of boxing currently as it stands, is Errol Spence versus another undefeated welterweight world champion and 3-division world champion superstar boxer who's widely considered by many to be the #1 best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, in Terrence Bud Crawford. Terrence Crawford is 38 wins, no losses, no draws. Terrence Crawford is 29 wins by way of knockout, 34 years of age, 5'8" with a 74-inch arm reach. So Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence makes for the biggest fight in the sport of boxing. That's the fight the fans have been clamoring for. Everybody wants to see Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford step in the ring. Errol Spence is a southpaw, big, strong southpaw. Terrence Crawford is a switch fighter. He has the ability to switch from orthodox to southpaw fluidly, so he can mix it up. Very long arms, power, knocked out his last 9 opponents. So you can understand why the fans want to see Terrence Crawford face off against Errol Spence Jr. Okay, so with that said, Terrence Crawford, he's right now going through a legal battle right now, currently as it stands, with his former longtime promoting company, legendary promoter, top-ranked CEO and promoter Bob Arum. Okay, so Terrence Crawford is going through, a bit of a legal battle with that situation that he has to handle. But again, the fight that everybody is clamoring to see is Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence Jr. Okay, so with that said, Yordenis Ugas, he has a history with Terrence Crawford. Yordenis Ugas, he beat Terrence Crawford in the amateurs. Okay, so he beat Terrence Crawford in the amateurs. And so he's saying he's going to disrupt what everybody wants to see. Everybody wants to see Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr., but Yordenis Ugas is saying that's going to be disrupted. That's not coming to fruition. He stated that, the belts are staying with me. I'm just going to add to the collection, okay? And Yordenis Ugas is guaranteeing victory, and he's stating that, he hopes that Terrence Crawford doesn't avoid him after he beats Errol Spence Jr. And he's advising Terrence Crawford, pleading with Terrence Crawford to now, who's a promotional network free agent, to sign with PBC, Premier Boxing Champion founder and advisor Al Heyman, so that these fights can be made easier. Okay, so he's now, he's advising and pleading with Terrence Crawford to sign with the PBC to make sure there is no hurdles and there's no roadblocks preventing the fight from happening. And he stated that, he respects Errol Spence, obviously. He has big respect for Errol Spence, but he believes that, he wholeheartedly believes and guarantees that he will be victorious against Errol Spence Jr. No doubt, he stated that he's going to create history for the Cuban fans and for the Cuban school of boxing and his country of Cuba all the way around. He's a big advocate for, what goes back at home, what goes on back home in Cuba. So he's vowing that Errol Spence will not be victorious April 16th, Arlington, Texas, AT&T Stadium, Dallas Cowboys Stadium, Jerry's World, better known as Jerry World. So he's guaranteeing that he's coming home with a victory. He said that, his life changed after he defeated, what's ironic because Errol Spence was scheduled to face off against Manny Pacquiao August 21st. But Errol Spence, he suffered a broken detached retina. So Errol Spence has fought once in a total of 2.5 years. Okay, so that leaves a lot of question in people's mind as to what version of Errol Spence are we going to get? Now, I personally had Errol Spence, one of his sparring partners, on, and he said that Errol Spence has gotten bigger and stronger and faster, and his ring IQ has only increased. And he believes that it's the chip on his shoulder because everybody's doubting him as to why Errol Spence is so hungry and so eager to prove the people wrong. Okay, so he suffered that broken detached retina. He was initially scheduled to face off against Manny Pacquiao August 21st in Las Vegas, Nevada, at the T-Mobile Arena. But Yordenis Ugas was supposed to be the co-main event, but Yordenis Ugas was elevated to the main event and got the opportunity to officially fight Manny Pacquiao, which was cool for Yordenis Ugas because when Yordenis Ugas was elevated to the super champion and Manny Pacquiao was placed as champion in recess, a lot of the fans questioned that move. I questioned the move when Manny Pacquiao, petitioned to be reinstated as the WBA super champion. The WBA president Gilberto Mendoza refused to reinstate Manny Pacquiao as the super champion, so fans wasn't happy about that. So it worked out for Yordenis Ugas that Errol Spence unfortunately was pulled from the fight. Obviously nobody wants him to have to suffer an injury to be pulled from the fight so you could get an opportunity. But the chips fell where they may. The dominoes fell in place for Yordenis Ugas. The stars aligned for him to be able to prove himself because he was on social media, trying to explain himself and state that he was the official champion. He earned his position, and everybody, the fans, were saying, you didn't earn it, you didn't beat Manny Pacquiao. So he got the opportunity to actually fight Manny Pacquiao and solidify himself as the official champion in the welterweight division, and that's what he did. He did it by outclassing Manny Pacquiao. He beat Manny Pacquiao essentially, in my opinion, 9 rounds to 3. I thought he dominated Manny Pacquiao. I thought he outclassed Manny Pacquiao, and many people attest to Manny Pacquiao's age and 2-year layoff and being 42 years of age, and Manny Pacquiao, having his mind with his Senate. He's a Senate over in the Philippines and not being focused. People attested to that, to why Manny Pacquiao lost. And then Manny Pacquiao himself stated that the fact that he had an injury to his calf was the reason why he lost the fight. And Yordenis Ugas was one of the easiest opponents he ever faced. And that, in any other circumstances, he would have beat Yordenis Ugas. Well, Yordenis Ugas nonetheless, he dominated Manny Pacquiao, and Yordenis Ugas said that fight changed his life. And now this fight is going to change the lives of the people in Cuba, because he's going to, him being victorious against Errol Spence is going to raise a lot of awareness, and he's going to be an advocate, so he's guaranteeing he's coming home with all these 3 belts. Now, what's interesting to know here is Errol Spence is bigger, stronger, younger, southpaw, just as skilled as Yordenis Ugas, just as technically savvy, but Yordenis Ugas doesn't have a lot of pop. He's not a big puncher. It just shows in 31 fights he has 12 knockouts. So he's technically sound, he's skilled, he's accurate with his punches, he has a great jab, but at the end of the day, Yordenis Ugas doesn't have much power, and you're going to need power to keep Errol Spence honest and off you. And if you don't have that, and Errol Spence resembles anything in the Errol Spence that fought Chris Algieri and that fought Deshaun Porter, the big, strong version of Errol Spence. If that version, not the version that fought Danny Garcia in his comeback December 5th, but the version, and not the version that just outboxed Mikey Garcia. No, the version of Errol Spence that dominated Chris Algieri, Lamont Peterson, Kell Brook, and Sean Porter, the physical Errol Spence, Yordenis Ugas can find himself in trouble. It's definitely going to be an interesting fight. See how Errol Spence comes back. Errol Spence stated he was only 80% of himself when he fought Danny Garcia. So this is going to be interesting to see. Yordenis Ugas is guaranteeing he's winning the fight. He's not coming to lose. And he's going to make a statement. Obviously, Errol Spence, he said the road to undisputed already started. And now he plans on fighting Terrence Crawford. Ugas said that fight ain't happening. It's going to be him and Terrence Crawford. I can't wait to see how this unfolds and plays out April 16th in Arlington, Texas, Dallas Cowboys Stadium, AT&T Stadium, Jerry's World. That's all I got for y'all, man. Make sure you hit the like button, drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.
Bumgarner, you're watching Blue Blood Sports TV. Wow.